So when I started compiling the presentation, I thought that I will refer to various suttas which we have read and will compile a presentation out of that based on my understanding of where to put some of the specific teachings of Buddha. Uh, but then I found that it was getting very difficult for me. Uh, Many times in various lectures, various suttas, possibly same thing was being told but in different way. So it was very difficult to uh, collect them together, and many times suttas become sort of a manual in the sense that uh, they directly tell about uh, the things, whereas in comparison to probably reading some discourse or some book, there is a lot of uh, background which helps you pick right kind of words. So in future, I'll still like to give one more shot at creating a presentation from directly from suttas. But probably my understanding is that it will take a little more time. So from maybe probably 2 weeks. So in the meantime, what I did was that I had read a lot of Ajahn Sundar lectures, so I thought that will be probably more easier to create a presentation out of it on the things which I have understood from Ajahn Sundar lectures. And so I picked few lectures randomly from net and compiled a presentation from it. So I've tried to use most of the words directly as mentioned by Ajahn Sumedho, because probably if I try to put more of my understanding also, it can cause a confusion and right words are not chosen. Uh, uh, the message being conveyed can sometimes not go through, though intention may be right. I'll just check. Okay. Uh, Central to teaching of Buddha is uh, this concept of five aggregates, and they are used in lots of places. And the way Buddha used five aggregates or five khandas is, these are the ways, these are the uh, uh, khandas, or these are the aggregates which we can use to uh, do our meditation or contemplation or reflection and come close to the reality of the things. And the five aggregates are Rupa, Vedana, Sana, Sankhara, and Vijnana. And the corresponding translations are like Rupa. So Rupa stands for, mostly you can use it for body, but so Rupa will also stand for physical thing, right?
Form.
Rupa is
Everything it is a form.
form, yeah. So I think Rupa and form are probably synonymous in terms of words. And Vedana stands for feelings, Sana stands for perception, mental formations, Sankhara, and consciousness is Vijnana. Okay, so In lectures of Ajahn Sumedho also refers to these khandas, and he likes to uh, collect these khandas in a conditioned dream, and then he offers methods by which we can uh, investigate this conditioned dream and possibly come out of this conditioned dream. So to start with, what is a conditioned dream? Uh, that's a basic definition. And conditioned dream is this realm where we are conscious, and uh, in this realm we are, as a living being, we are a sensitive being. And what essentially it means is that we have our senses and we have our feelings, and with these senses, with this feeling, there is always something coming to us in terms of some external input in through our body, through our ears, through our eyes and our senses, and sort of internally also something is coming to us. Something gets risen in mind based on our memory, and so something is always getting uh, bombarded or impinge on our consciousness. And even if we close our eyes, we can still hear sound, and we can still feel our body, or we can still feel the pain. So, this uh, whole living experience, probably uh, the way we are trying to make sense out of it, is more in this conditional dream. That's the probably the broad definition I have. And so this conditional dream can also be described with various ways. We can say that in this conditional dream there is always something irritating our minds, and by irritating our mind, if we take a simile of water in a pond, and if the water is very calm, these impinges are like a stone being dropped in water, and the water itself can possibly best be classified as our mind. So there is always this something being dropped in water, and because of these impinges, there are waves, and which corresponds to our mind reacting in this conditional dream. And this conditional dream can also be said that this is how uh, we are. So we get trained in this conditional dream. Our thinking is in conditional dream. We acquire our habits in this conditional dream, and pretty much most of what we do, or what we think, and what our habits, the way we react, it's part of this conditional dream. And so, how does this conditional dream come about? Uh, when a child is born, it has a physical body, and it's a conscious being. And at very minimal level, a child has feelings. The child can feel pleasure, child can feel pain and neutral sensations, And so there is conditioning, but the conditioning at the level at for a newborn child is probably very small, very minimal. But as we grow, we grow in a family, so that is the first level of conditioning we get. And the conditioning which I'm trying to relate here is more of the way we get our knowledge, the way we get our thinking, the way we form our habits, the way we find that what is good and what is bad. So as we grow up, as we go to school, as we see others, it makes a uh, conditioning pattern for us. And what happens is that uh, conditioning sometimes get bound by group or a class. If we are Hindu, our conditioning out towards our by our religion will be of certain pattern. Same like conditioning of some other religion or some other countries or some other class of living in some other area. So this conditioning happens where we uh, grow. So if if we have basic definition of conditioning, uh, we can. It's also good to understand that what is unconditioned. So Buddha refers to this unconditioned in various ways in his suttas, and we can say unconditioned is something which is unborn, uncreated, something without form or quality, where everything ceases and where our ability to imagine or perceiving ends. But problem with this definition of unconditioning is that if we try to make sense of it, it won't make any sense. Anything we try to understand from this conditioning, it will still be in our conditional brain, because thinking is in conditional brain, our perception is in the conditional brain. So as a definition, we can say it's unborn, uncreated, where everything ceases. But beyond that, there is nothing we can understand about unconditioned. But so, given this context between conditioned and unconditioned, uh, there is still a way by which we can come out of our conditioned dream and go towards or become uh, unconditioned. And this is what Buddha also tries to point out of how we can do that. And this is also what as I've understood from the lectures of Ajahn Saviro. And the method is not direct in the sense that the method to go from conditioned to unconditioned is not direct in the sense that we leave our conditioning and we choose unconditioned. The method is more indirect, where one by one, possibly we allow our conditioning to drop, and when whole of conditioning drops, what will be left is unconditioned.
Uh, how do you experience the beyond conditioned realm if all our experiences eventually have to filter through some way of
Yeah.
sense, consciousness.
Yeah.
How do you experience it?
So this is my understanding is that the path from condition to unconditioned is not something that will happen one particular day when all the conditioning has dropped. What you will be left with is unconditioned. So this unconditioning happens to us uh, a lot number of times in a day, but it is so momentary that we can't notice it, and if we try to notice it, probably will be out of it. And one simple way we can think of being in unconditioned is that when uh, we have stopped all our thinking, uh, stopped our reasoning, and we are just being in the present moment. And but the moment we try to analyze that, am I there? I am not there. So, and these are like these momentary moments for which in a day when suddenly we become quiet and we are getting some inputs, but our thinking mind has stopped for some moments. So that's the things where we are in unconditioned, and through meditation and through continuous practice, we can try to increase these uh, durations and possibly uh, get to a stage where there is no condition. And this is also where which is referred to as so the word nibbana also is referred in two ways. One is nibbana in the sense where there is only unconditioned, but there are these momentary nibbanas when we release our suffering and when we are quiet uh, at some particular moment, and but then we come back to our condition.
So here is the actually the main question that I was trying to ask. You asked a very interesting question earlier about when a car is coming towards you, then there has to be, I mean, we called it reaction in that question, and as sir explained, if you acted out of fear of that car coming at you, it was reaction. If you recognized that the car coming at you needs some action from you, and without fear you step aside, that's action. Now, whether it's an action or a reaction, to recognize and to perceive that a car is coming at you, you are using some senses, and senses are a part of your conditioned realm. So the main question is, even to, so if you're living in the present and rather than reacting, acting at every point of time, in some sense you're saying you are then beyond the conditioned realm. You're living in the present, you're mindful. However, to even do that, you're using your senses. So there is some part of the conditioned realm, if you consider senses as being conditioned realm part, then there is some part of the conditioned realm which is needed even to be in the unconditioned realm. Because otherwise you can't experience, it would be otherwise like saying you cut yourself off from everything in a dark room, no sound, and achieve unconditioned realm, which is not realistic in our lives. So there is some part, so you use your senses, however you don't let those senses start a chain reaction. Is that what being in unconditioned realm means?
Yeah. You don't let a thinking mind to start the chain reaction because of the sense inputs you have. So, so it is also important to understand that we have this body. Okay, whether we call my body or this is just body, the fact is that we have the body, and till the time we have this body, there will be sensory inputs coming into this body, and till that time we have to act on those sensory inputs. But those actings will be based on those will be acting rather than reacting in unconditional way. That's the understanding I have.
So if you see something wrong, and actually that's a question both for you and for sir, if you see something wrong happening in front of you, I understand that you should not react based on a hate for the doer of that wrong thing, but you should also act to correct it, or at least I would like to. So, so how do you draw that line and say, so as long as I'm not doing it out of passion or emotion, it's not a reaction? Am I not reacting to something even without passion and saying this needs to be corrected, so I shall correct it?
So my understanding is that in a state of unconditioned, you will be having more compassion rather than passion. You won't have fear about losing your body or not doing something because you are weak. Uh, Based on the present input, you will try to do something which is right and which you feel right, and that will be a moment where you will be guided more by your compassion.
But you see, the question is, what you consider as right is also perhaps conditioned. How do I decide that this is the right thing to do? And as soon as I get into it, I am not getting into another condition.
So, in some sense, probably yes, that if you use your thinking mind, you will say, you will try to compare. So, but you have so.
And just to complete my question, if therefore you believe it is conditioned, and so therefore you don't try to correct it, thinking that hey, this is conditioning, I should not do it, that will lead to inaction.
So, so this is my understanding. So I don't know how much of that is correct. So at the unconditional level, so this duality of this is me, this body is mine, and this is your body, this drops. So if something is happening to somebody and you are there, so you will do the same thing which you do for your body, because the duality has stopped. So, so there is no difference that whether I need to protect this fellow or not. So that question itself won't arise. You will do what is natural reaction of protection is. That's the understanding I have. Okay. So now a very simple method which Ajahn Sumedho mentions is what is the way to come out of our conditioning and go towards unconditioned. And what Ajahn Sumedho says is that you can use your reflection, your method of reflection and the method of noticing. And what is this method of reflection or method of noticing? It's very simple the way it is. That's the term which Ajahn Sumedho mentions a lot, and we'll come to it. So in the beginning I had mentioned 5 khandas, 5 aggregates, and we'll start with the aggregate of body. And so what is the way by which we can do reflection in this body, which can help us move towards unconditioned rather than in this conditioned dream. So, so here is very simple concept which I understood in Ajahn Sundhar's lecture, is that most of the time in our day-to-day living, what we consider is that our mind is in our body, and but if we sit and close our eyes and try to observe our body, what we can understand is that our uh, body is in our mind. And what does it mean that our body is in our mind? Is that with our eyes closed, we can think about any body part, and we can take our attention to any body part, and we can feel sensations about a particular body part. So we have brought our body in our mind, and in very simple way, doing a reflection with our body is to just try to notice our breathing and just try to feel our body. And so it can feel like a very boring thing, that we are trying to like close our eyes and just try to concentrate on our breathing, or just try to see uh, how whether we are inhaling and at what point we are stopping the inhaling, and what time we start exhaling, and what time we have completed our exhale. But what additionally you will notice is that when we are with our body, uh, we are in the present moment, and this is where our conditioning will stop in the present, and will come back to the present moment. And the process can be the process of uh, doing a reflection with the body is just very simple, and with our closed eyes we are just feeling our whole body, possibly part by part, moving from our feet to legs to chest to shoulders, and then we can possibly be present of what's happening in our body, and we can just be aware of our whole body. And for the moments where we are aware of our body, uh, just looking at the sensations of our body, for those moments our possibly conditioning drops, our thinking mind stops, and we are in the present moment. So I'll move over to next thing, and it is reflecting in the realm of sensations. So as I started with that, we are in this sense realm, and we are always being bombarded with external inputs, and we keep generating these sensations, and we have sensations of heat or cold, pleasure, pain, and sometimes this can be more mental also, like something is beautiful, we find something beautiful, we find something ugly, we find some harmonious sounds or some jarring sounds, some fragrance we find good, and some we find as horrible odors. And so our when we uh, get any pleasant sensations, we can just notice. So if in a conditional dream we work on pleasure pain principle, so we can use this pleasure pain principle itself to see our conditioning and come out of conditioning. And we once if we get a pleasant sensation, we just need to see that we are getting a pleasant sensation. We can observe our pull towards those pleasant sensations, our liking towards those pleasant sensations. And same thing we can do with ugly. We can see how we are getting repelled, how we are getting drawn back from those things which we don't like, or the pain which we don't like. And so this reflection on this sensations are just to in notice how our mind reacts to those thing, and whether we are getting a pull or whether we are getting repelled in those things. And then we have neutral sensations. Most of the time we don't notice them unless those neutral sensations uh, become very gross and manifest them in something which is pleasant or unpleasant. And neutral sensations happens most of the time to us, whether it's one hand touching another hand, or pressure of clothes on our skin. And so most of the time these get ignored, but in our meditation, when we sit, we can just try to notice these neutral sensations and just be aware of those neutral sensations. So, apart from our body and apart from our sensations where we feel something pleasant or something unpleasant, uh, uh, we live in this realm of our perceptions, and we can use that perception realm also for our meditation. And as we grow, uh, we form our perceptions, the language which learns, the memory we acquire as we grow. So, this the family which we live in, the education which we get, and this whole thing forms a perception for us, uh, what we find right and what we find wrong. And what happens is that so with this perception we form a circle around us where we say that this is what we understand and this is what is good for us, and beyond what we have not encountered, or something which is unknown to us, and we consider that something as abnormal or a behavior of somebody, because our perception says this is something which I won't do, so this is possibly the wrong. So this is we form our perceptions and react in those perceptions. These perceptions are not there when a child is born, but as a child grows, everybody learns these perceptions. And so, if we are have to, if we go out of our perceptions, most of the time we get frightened, and we want to come back to something which is more predictable, something which we have seen. And so this is the whole conditioning we have in the realm of perception. And then we can do reflection in this realm of perception, and we can just notice how our mind is reacting to something which I don't understand, how something which I don't like, and something which uh, doesn't conform to my standards. And meditation is just observing or noticing those things, and possibly observing our narrow limits of our conditioned perception. So now is this complete definition of reflection, contemplation, or investigation. And we started that reflection is more of noticing things the way things are. And in simple terms, we can say this is the way it is. And what essentially it means is that uh, when we sit in our meditation, we sit with our aim. So the hidden aim, we can say, is we we don't want to change anything. We we don't say that this is bad and this is good, and we want something good. We want pleasant sensations, and we want to be in deep concentration. What we sit with a simple aim is we just need to observe the way things are, and and as I've understood from Ajahn Suvedu, and he says the most important thing is to uh, observe your mind uh, when you do meditation. See how your mind reacts to certain things. When irritation is coming, when you say that, oh, I don't want it, or I don't like it, or you are getting a pull or you are getting a push based on some sensations, and we don't get caught in this in contemplation, reflection. We don't get caught in this reacting way of pleasure and pain, but we sort of dissociate ourselves and see ourselves reacting to it. And so this is so anything which is conditioned is subject to death or subject to cessation. And so we are not also saying that conditioning is something bad, uh, but we are saying is, so if we as a body we need this conditioning, and otherwise we won't be able to survive. But we are saying is that in this conditioning we want to see that how our mind is uh, grasping on things, and we want to so sort of goal is to see our grasping, and seeing our grasping on things is something possibly which will release this uh, grasp. And so this is the term which we use, that there is suffering and there is end to suffering, which it can be equated that there is a condition, and there is unconditioned. In unconditioned, there is no suffering. Uh, Ajahn Suredo uses this term a lot, where he says that to break our conditioning, we use our awareness with a wisdom. That we are aware and we have the wisdom, and we can break our ignorance with that. And so, how else we can describe conditioning is that uh, uh, how else we can break this conditioning is that in empty mind, when our thinking stops, we can say that our conditioning stops. Our mind is not reacting uh, because we let things to be just the way they are, rather than we trying to make something out of them. In stillness of mind, when we are not caught in momentum of habits, emotions, conditions, or perceptions. And Ajahn Sumedho said that he used very skillful technique to break our break our conditioning of our perceptions which we have formed. Uh, and he uses this example that many times in our past, something, some small incident which uh, has left a deep scar in our mind, and anytime if somebody mentions about that, or anytime if we uh, remember that incident, it brings all those emotions back, and we tend to either defend what we did, or we try to refuse. We try to argue is that that was something which has happened. Now I don't need to worry about it, and I don't need to. Uh, I'm much better now. This thing won't happen to me again. And all of these reactions are still in our conditioning. And uh, what is a way to break out of them? What Ajahn Sumedho says is that in your meditation, you, when we are meditating, we can deliberately bring that past painful memory or event, and when that event or memory comes, we can be just aware of our mental reactions towards that event, and we are not reacting, we are just seeing that how our mind is reacting to those events, and we can just be aware, and in that moment of awareness, we can see our mind reacting, and after some point we can see uh, cessation happening, and that thing stop troubling us, and and possibly this is the way we can try to overcome some of our uh, problems by just not reacting to it, and just observing that how these things are affecting me, and then letting it to its natural cessation, rather than we forcing it. The moment we try to force it, it will getting stopped, it will actually increase, and this is what happens to us every time something bad happens and we want to stop it, and the more we want to stop it, the more it troubles us, and then there is this possible middle way to come out of it. And we can also describe breaking out of conditioning is that uh, we can endure the sense impinging on our consciousness rather than getting caught in it, and we can say that probably now we are more bearable to it rather than doing a immediate reaction, and rather than saying that it's something bad. And in much simpler terms, we can say that we accept the way life is, rather than trying to say that this is not something good to me and this is something I want to change. And this is the definition of meditation. What is meditation? Meditation is that when we are doing investigation with each of those five aggregates, uh, when we have this awareness and we are in this present moment, here and now, and we are with our bodies, we are with our breath, we are with our sound of silence, and just noticing these conditioned states and this changing phenomena. We are noting our moods and emotions, thoughts, feelings, something which is happening good or something which is happening bad, and just being with it.
Good. Yeah, I think every time we discuss this, it seems that it is clear, but this question keeps coming back. Uh, One, as I said earlier, in the conventional world that we live in, wisdom is thought to be derived from knowledge. And knowledge is something that is generally believed you accumulate over a period of time by reading, hearing, listening, learning. And a lot of this in Deepak's terms would be conditioning. So conditioning leading to knowledge, leading to wisdom in the traditional sense. And then related to that issue is the emotion part of it and not wanting to react based on emotions. I think that's not so debatable. But accepting everything as it is and not wanting to change, something that you said in the last couple of slides, is again linking back to that question, which is, if you don't react but you want to change something because you believe it is wrong, then who decides what is right and wrong? And that right and wrong, is it again taking you back to conditioning? So one way to then get out beyond that conditional or conditioned realm is to not do anything and cut yourself off from everything and say, now there shall be no senses, therefore there will be no clinging to those sensory inputs, and so you have achieved nirvana. But that is perhaps not practical. And so if you are going to incorporate senses and therefore you are going to evaluate, now that's that slippery part of it. Should you not evaluate what's coming to you? If you evaluate, then there will be again a chain, and you will want to do something. And so are you slipping away? On the other hand, if you don't want to do that, then are you being completely inactive? So I don't know, maybe I'm sort of keep asking this question again and again, but every time I think I have the answer, I realize I don't have the answer.
So, sir, my understanding is that so the way I've understood is that you live your life the way you are living. You don't change it. That I've read in meditation that I need to do this. Okay, let me change it this way, or I need to do this way. For a moment, we say that the way we have acquired knowledge, the way we consider things which are bad, the way we consider things to be good, we live with those principles. Let things be the way they are. Okay, but when we say that we want to be aware, or we want to do meditation, or we want to do contemplation, is that we just get aware of what we are doing. we are aware of how our mind is reacting to things, how we are finding something good, and how we are finding something bad. And you just have this extra step of awareness, of seeing ourselves the way we are. And once we have this extra step, uh, anything which happens, it will happen more naturally rather than being self-imposed. And so, I can give one example is that if something is uh, giving us suffering, okay, and so only way to come out of suffering is to see our suffering. And how do we see our suffering is to just be aware of that suffering. So it's not saying that I should not suffer or I should not react this way and this thing is giving suffering, this should not giving suffering. So I'm just, once we see our suffering, that itself will naturally give a way out of our suffering rather than we have to do consciously do something.
I understand what you're saying. I have lack of clarity on this naturally. It will happen part of it. So I see someone on the street beating a young child, and then I realize that I am suffering because I dislike what he is doing. Now you can say there is an element of emotion to it, which with practice I will try to take away and say this is not about disliking that person. It is about the fact that what he is doing is not right, and so I should correct it. I should ask that person or request that person to not beat the child. Right? But in doing so, my conditioning will play a role. So it is okay to have that conditioning.
Yep.
And I am deciding on behalf of that person and that child what is correct.
Okay. But you are aware of what you are doing additionally.
So I am aware that based on my knowledge and belief and my conditioning, I am intervening and stopping someone from doing something.
Nee, so you are aware that you are getting a thought that there is something wrong which is happening to this fellow and I need to protect him. You are aware that you are doing this reaction, and then you are aware that when after doing it you yourself are trying to justify that I need to do something because I found that something bad is happening. And you are aware of that thing also. So whatever is happening, you are just aware.
So being aware is one thing.
When you just said that you are aware of the fact that this is conditioning is making the child, and I am thinking this is my condition. That is analyzing. That is not being aware. That's happening in your mind. When you get out of awareness. Awareness is how you are feeling and you are just going and doing something. When you stop doing that and you analyze, then you think that this analysis is awareness. I am aware that I am doing this because of this. Is actually a mental analysis.
So what made me stop that person? Is that conditioning?
Yes.
A natural,
It is
a natural response of your mind.
Is that conditioning?
It's the conditioning, and you can't say why.
Because if
You
that
have
is
this-
conditioning, then what is not? How will we ever do anything which is not based on conditioning?
Which is not based on conditioning.
Give me an example.
I think I have read, I heard most of your slides, but I got disconnected when I'm not sure whether I actually don't want to get into what is conditioning, right?
But should we
That
not?
is, or maybe I want to differ how you define conditioning.
So is the goal to get rid of all conditioning? Because in one of his slides, that's what he said. If you shed all the conditioning,
Because
then you
the
get to
way-
the unconditioned reality.
If that is all conditioning, then the goal is never
Goal is
getting
also
rid
conditioning.
of your perceptions, or so not perceptions, but your sense organs response. You can't get, as you said, you can't get rid of.
Except, so welcome everything. All these things are related. So your
I think
sensory
To
input.
me, the conditioning is a response coming out of self is conditioning. The moment you are aware that there is an actor who is trying to act, is conditioning. When the actor is not, the action will still happen.
Yes. Just that identifying with that concept is very hard. I mean, how would you describe? How would you give an example of it?
It is a simile to the fact that if for example, say the breathing is an example. Is it a body breathing or you breathing? You believe you can make it fast or slow, so you are making it happen, right? But when you take you out, it still happens. Right? So if you take that simile to mind, you believe you are making mind do something, but when you take self out, mind still runs. It's a natural response of the body-mind complex. What your belief systems are, or what you think is right and wrong, will make you correct that.
So do you mean that the difference is just getting attached to the perception that I am I? Does that sound good?
At the ground, yes. At the foundation, yes. But I got from last sessions that I should not be going to extremes where the words can be construed in a manner where people can go into slippery slope. So when you say, but what you're saying is right. If you're doing things with a sense of self or sense of personality, that there is an actor, which is me, trying to do things.
That is
That is the only one.
having gotten rid of that is deconditioned.
Having got rid of is a word which is coming from an analysis that I should get rid of that. Right? So, seeing that there is an actor which is coming into picture now is the deconditioning. Seeing that. So as soon as you say that you want to get rid of conditioning, you come into the analysis mode that there is an actor which I want to get rid of, right? It is also coming from the same self. The simile that Deepak used was very nice. Whether the mind is in the body or whether the body is in the mind. Similarly, when you say that can this sense of conditioned or the sense of self look for unconditioned, then it actually means that that unconditioned is somewhere that I can contain itself. I can look for it. Actually, it's the other way around. Can from a view, you can look at self and say, see, that was the actor that was acting. And you suddenly, after the next moment, you become the actor. So then the self is not trying to look for unconditioned, then it's the other way around.
See, the challenge is you don't know what you don't know.
So you can only see what you can see.
So as soon as I look at something and believe that there is something wrong about it and it needs to be corrected, now you can attribute that to the self and say the self, I'm putting myself on a pedestal and saying I am right and that person is wrong. And you can say you can try and move away from that thought or that feeling that I need to fix this.
Then you're again thinking about
it. But as soon as you do that, then you say that is also analysis.
Yeah.
You're saying somehow
it
should happen outside of self automatically, but I don't understand that. I don't know that.
Because
so
you're trying to do it from self. You sat for 4 or 5 hours. Then you recognize that your mind was away. What made it come back? thought. I think just the recognition of the fact that the mind was away, the mind came back naturally. There was no moment in between where the I was there which said, oh, I realize it, now I have to bring it back. The fact that you recognize it, it goes away. The fact that you recognize the wandering takes the wandering away. Okay, so the moment you recognize that there is an actor which is trying to act, there is a personality, it's gone. You don't start to think after it, okay, now this is a personality, now I should not be doing it from a sense of self.
So if I get into that state somehow, I still don't know how, but if I get into that state, things will happen on their own. So something
With
wrong
your
is
own,
happening,
no, with your belief
and
system.
something right will happen.
You would respond with your belief system.
That's conditioning also.
I don't know whether it's conditioning or not, but if you, so having said that, I think we are trying to optimize life too much. There's a saying that whatever you need to know, you have not already known in kindergarten, right? So the very basic principles of life, you know. You don't need to teach yourself that if somebody is hitting a child, please go and stop him. The basics of morality, the basics of the fundamental living is all ingrained in us. We just make it too complex by trying to optimize. इस situation में ये करना चाहिए, उस situation में ये करना चाहिए, उस situation में ये करना चाहिए.
It's not so obvious. What is moral in one society is immoral in another. And who is to decide what is right?
I think
It is
you are trying to make a universal right and wrong. Why don't we say that if you see that self is responding and you just recognize it, don't try to now think of कि मुझे self हटानी है. It will have its own place there. It will go away when it can, it will not. And then whatever the action happens without the actor would be based on what your understanding of the situation was.
I guess where I'm struggling is, and maybe that's why you are not able to, or I'm not able to understand you, is action happening without actor is probably hard to describe. You can only experience it. I have not experienced it.
Now, yes, I think I can just point you to some things. A mother looking at a child and feeling love, it's a very natural stuff coming out of that.
But isn't that a feeling? Isn't that an emotion?
Right, but
Isn't it?
I think you're then taking in the whole feeling come into picture, but yet the action that the mother is taking is coming very naturally from her understanding that this is my child, let me pick up if the child is crying. After that, the mother starts to collude with the feelings. Oh, why is he crying? मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ? Did I feed her right or not? Then you get into all that stuff. But the first reaction that you had when the child was crying is to pick up the child.
And maybe
I think we should answer. हम काफी ज़्यादा देर तक बात कर ली.
We are now putting natural
Maybe it's going away
instincts.
out of my.
No. We are putting natural instincts synonymous with this selfless being. The problem with that is most animals almost all their life follow just natural instincts. Then are they more living in the present and mindful than human beings?
Our natural instincts, our real natural instincts, when the self is not there, is definitely million times better than the animal.
Actually, I can answer that. I can answer is that in some sense they live in present, okay, but they don't have this power of observing or noticing, which we have.
But that is the calling analysis. That when you start to analyze.
No. If you're not with the mind's analysis, then you are with the present.
Say that again.
If you are not with the mental analysis, If you are with the things that you can feel, not think, they are sensations, emotions and feelings.
See, as soon as you start to observe feelings, you also start to think.
So actually, Raman,
Observing feeling is also in some sense thinking.
Raman,
You
actually,
switch,
You
think and you say feel. You think.
and if you don't observe them and therefore not think, then you are like any other animal. So I know there is a difference between human beings and animals, but putting it in this framework for me is getting very hard. I agree. I think we should.
पर मेरे shared understanding से
We should-
बाहर जा चुका है.
Let me try. I'll try. See, whenever we are, I think, mixing two things, we are thinking that unconditioned is also something according to which we can start living in a day-to-day life. Unconditioned is a specific experience which one gets. If you read Buddha's life, he would say, every day, early in the morning, he will sit and then he will enter this samadhi, then he will have an experience of unconditioned. At that moment, it doesn't mean that all the time he is unconditioned. If you study Abhidhamma, you find very startling things are made there. That is the understanding, it filters out our understanding. Whenever there is consciousness, 7 mental factors are bound to arise. And one of them is perception. So you can't get away from perception. And in fact, the biggest trap for intellectually oriented people is the perception. This is right, this is wrong, this is certainly based on conditioning. Don't deny of that. So what should we do? We change our conditioning. So that's why I think we should study next that sutta of Girimananda Sutta that we have not studied it. So there is Dasa Sanya, 10 perceptions are mentioned there. Anicca Sanya, Anatta Sanya, Adinava Sanya, and many others. Viraga Sanya. What does it mean? From our normal perception of based on things liking, disliking, we change it to we work towards changing it to Anicca Sanya, which means whenever we see something, we remember it is impermanent, rather than whether it is good, bad, right, wrong, impermanent. So we transform our perception into that it becomes transformed from Sangya, which looks at things as nature, as lasting, to impermanence. Anatta Sangya, things as impersonal, not personal. So if you are getting angry, it's all right. I think there is a reason in it. It's not that you are an angry person and you are a wonderful person. It's just a matter of, at that moment, because of conditions, this is a reason. Similarly, Adinava Sangya. So you develop this understanding that this is a dangerous world. You should not be born it again and again. So you have to understand that in that proper sense. So they are all based on, so what is it say? If you read it, a person goes to the root of a tree or a forest, sits down and contemplates Rupam Anityam, Vedana Anicca, this, that. So it's exactly the same way. Then Anatta. Then Adinava, he thinks about what are the kinds of illnesses I fall. These are the illnesses there are. And he enumerates 20, 30, 40 illnesses. उसको सुन के आदमी परेशान हो जाएगा कितनी बीमारियां हैं क्या, and I can have all of them. So he creates a danger, he creates a feeling of danger in this way. So this way it is a mixture of reflection and assimilation, so that our sanya is transformed. So in the other scheme of thinking, what is said, that when the mind is purified slowly and slowly by practice, the dormant Brahma Viharas come to the surface. So the enlightened being has those predominant characteristics, and his all other sannyas have been, the normal sanya is finished, it is all Anicca Sanya, Anatta Sanya, aware of that things in that impersonal sense, looks at things as impermanent, and as a result, the four Brahma Viharas are dominant in his character. Compassion, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, Patana. So they are dominant. So all his actions are driven by that. So you can call it, he has been conditioned to work according to those four things. You can say that. Because he has transformed his sanya completely. Whenever he sees something, he sees, oh, it's all impermanent. So when a woman comes and cries कि मेरा बेटा मर गया और रोए जा रही है, he doesn't break down कि अकेला बेटा मर गया. He knows it's impermanent. And because of that understanding and compassion arises, so he thinks, अच्छा इसके लिए क्या तरीका ठीक होगा इसको निकालने का. तो अच्छा तुम जाओ गाँव और you bring some mustard seeds. So you could think out of clarity, out of compassion. He didn't tell her कि चलो मैं तुम्हारा बेटा पैदा कर देता दोबारा जमा देता. Nothing. Because he understands संन्यास so powerfully कि वो बेटा अगर इसको दोबारा जाग जाएगा फिर मर जाएगा फिर रोएगी. Let me use this opportunity to inculcate अनित्य संज्ञा in her. So दिन भर दौड़ा रहे हैं उसको इधर से उधर. One could say it's a foolish thing to ask a lady who poor, पहले ही वो दुखी है, आप उसको और दुखी कर रहे हैं, इधर जाओ उधर जाओ उधर जाओ. One could see it in that light. One could see it in another light. It's a basic of a difference of perception. So whenever we do any action, there has to be an intention. So this is also something, without intention there will be no action. Isn't it? So and that intention will be governed by the perception. So they are always bound to be there. So to that extent, what is given to us for day-to-day life is to transform our perceptions into the right direction. Right meaning that which actually is. Things are impermanent, there is no denial of it. In whichever culture you may belong to, this fact of impermanence cannot be denied. This fact of non-impersonality cannot be denied. This fact that life here is dangerous cannot be denied. So these are these kind of universal facts of Dhamma, nature of reality. So we transform our sanya from based on conditionings of a culture to based on the nature of reality. And then when action takes place according to that sanya, it will naturally be for the good of others. It will give me happiness. That basic idea remains, that Rahul Bala Sutta, that whenever you do an action, reflect whether it is going to harm you or harm others. So you can easily see, by transforming our sanya in this manner, we will become, automatically our intentions will be in tune with Dhamma, and therefore things will be pretty fine. So that's the way I understand.
जैसे आपने बोला अनित्य है, जैसे सब जानते हैं, मतलब करते जानते कि ये बदल जाएगा, अनित्य है, लेकिन इसका मतलब कोई एक्शन ही नहीं करेंगे, यही जैसे
उसके आधार
पे अनित्य है तो बस बैठे रहेंगे,
उसके आधार पे करेंगे ना, उस अनित्य संज्ञा के आधार पे एक्शन करेंगे कि समझेंगे कि चीज़ें अनित्य हैं और उसके आधार पे मन को विचलित नहीं होने देंगे.
जैसे आपको मान लो गुस्सा, आप गुस्सा मेरे सामने बैठे और मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ पे कोई गुस्सा या इसका जवाब जरूर देना चाहिए, कोई भी चीज़ है, तो मैं ये सोचूँ कि ये गुस्सा है, मुझे पता है मुझे बोल जाएगा, मैं बैठी रहूँगी. तो ऐसा करना
डिपेंड करता है ना सिचुएशन कैसी है. सिचुएशन पे डिपेंड करेगा ना कि भाई क्या सिचुएशन ऐसी है कि इस परिस्थिति के अंदर मुख्य बात क्या है कि मैं दूसरे जो मेरे को बाहर से इनपुट आ रहे हैं, कोई गुस्सा कर रहा है, कोई प्रेज कर रहा है, कोई अच्छी बात कह रहा है, कोई बुरी बात कह रहा है, कि स्मेल आ रही है, उसके कारण मैं पहले विचलित ना हूँ. सबसे पहली बात तो ये है. अगर मैं विचलित हो जाऊँगा तो फिर मेरा रिस्पॉन्स गलत हो जाएगा सब. तो मैं विचलित क्यों नहीं होऊंगा, उसका एक कारण ये कि मैं समझूँ क्यों नित्य और अनात्म है. उसको अगर कोई मेरे से गुस्सा कर रहा है तो कोई ना कोई प्रोवोकेशन होगी, कोई कंडीशन हुई, उस कंडीशन के कारण ऐसा रिस्पॉन्स आया. और तीसरा कि मुझ पे क्या असर हो रहा है. अगर मुझको गुस्सा बुरा लग रहा है तो मैं देखूँ ये जो बात कही जा रही है ये सच है कि झूठ है. अगर मान लो कोई मुझे क्रिटिसाइज़ करता है ना, मुझे कोई क्रिटिसाइज़ करता है तो मुझे बुरा लगता है, गुस्सा आने लगता है. तो अगर मैं अच्छा साधक होऊंगा तो मैं देखूँगा अच्छा मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है, एक क्षण के लिए देख लिया गुस्सा आ रहा है, शरीर में क्या हो रहा है, गुस्सा आ रहा है, कष्ट हो रहा है. तो अगर मैं उस पर प्रतिक्रिया तुरंत नहीं करता तो गुस्से को मैंने देख लिया तो थोड़ा थोड़ा शांत होने लगेगा। तो उस 1-2 सेकंड के अंदर ही मुझे इतनी समझ, अगर मेरी समझदारी है, प्रज्ञा जगी हुई है थोड़ी बहुत भी, तो मुझे समझ में सोच क्या आएगा कि ये जो मुझे कह रहा है, ये मुझे जो क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा है, ये वैलिड है कि इनवैलिड है। ये भी तो हो सकता है क्रिटिसिज्म सच हो। पूरी बात सुन लो, अगर क्रिटिसिज्म सच हो, और ये भी हो सकता है क्रिटिसिज्म गलत हो, ठीक है ना। अगर क्रिटिसिज्म गलत है तो मैं जान जाऊंगा अरे मेरा कोई दोष नहीं है, तो मैं शांति से उसको कहूँगा भैया आपको गलतफहमी हो गई है, जो आप कह रहे हो वो ठीक नहीं है, तो मेरे मन में कोई गांठ नहीं बनेगी। अगर क्रिटिसिज्म सच है तो और मुश्किल हो जाता है, तो फिर मेरी अपनी ईगो जागेगी कि ये तो मैंने तो गलत काम कर दिया, मैंने तो ऐसा हो गया, अब मैं मानूंगा तो मेरे को बुरा लगेगा, मेरी इज्जत कम हो जाएगी। तो वहाँ पे हमारी ईगो का हमको देखना पड़ेगा कि मेरी ईगो है गलत काम किया है, मेरे से गलती हो गई और ये मेरे को बता रहा है कि मेरे से गलती हो गई। तो भगवान का जो दोहा है ना धम्मपद में, एनीबडी हु पॉइंट्स आउट योर फॉल्ट इज लाइक अ पर्सन हु शोज यू अ हिडन ट्रेजर, सो यू शुड इमीडिएटली थैंक हिम। अरे तुमने तो बहुत भरा हो तुम्हारा, तुमने मेरी कमज़ोरी बता दी, मैं आगे से ख्याल रखूँगा कि मेरे से ये गलती ना हो। सारा जीवन बदल जाएगा अगर हम इस तरह से जिएंगे। तो मुख्य बात क्या है, दूसरे को सुधारने की बात थोड़ी ना है। मुख्य बात है मुझे सुधारना है। अगर मैं सुधर जाऊँगा दूसरा अपने आप सुधर जाएगा।
जैसे क्लैरिटी है ना, जैसे आपने मान लो कोई आरोप लगाया मेरे पर और मुझे पता है कि मैंने ये काम नहीं किया या मैं ठीक हूँ बिल्कुल, अब मुझे उसका जवाब देना है उसको भी मैं
तो पहले अपने मन को हमको
मान लो बहस कर रहा है तो वो
करे जाएगा, उससे क्या होता है, क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है। हमने आपने कह दिया कि भाई जो आप आरोप लगा रहे हैं ठीक नहीं, बात खत्म, आपकी तरफ से खत्म होगी बात। वो कहता नहीं मैं ठीक हूँ, मैं ठीक हूँ, कह जाए, वो अपने तड़पेगा ना, तड़पता रहे। अब आप में इतनी समझ होनी चाहिए, इतनी अनित्य बोध होना चाहिए, और अगर सचमुच में इस धर्म जागा होगा तो मैत्री जागेगी। अरे देखो तड़प रहा है बेचारा, अपने गलत विचारों के कारण तड़प रहा है, सजग हो जाएंगे कि मुझे पहले तो गलत विचार नहीं आने चाहिए, दूसरा मैत्री नहीं है, ठीक है, लेट हिम अंडरस्टैंड इट इन ड्यू कोर्स, व्हाट कैन यू डू। दूसरे को हम करेक्ट नहीं कर सकते, इम्पॉसिबल। हम अपने सटल फीलिंग से, इमोशन से एक आध बार कोशिश कर सकते हैं समझाने की भाई ये गलत है, 2 बार समझा लिया तो नहीं समझ में आ रही तो क्या कर सकते हैं, आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते। द पर्सन इज फीलिंग कि आपने गलत किया, आपने नहीं किया, आपको पक्का मालूम है कि नहीं किया, तो उसकी दैट इज हिज प्रॉब्लम, आई शुड बी सॉल्व। But if we are still further developed, then we'll raise our level of compassion and try to help him out of that. So it depends on my development. ना मेरे में कितनी मैत्री है, कितनी मेरे में करुणा है, उसके अनुसार मैं एक्शन कर पाऊँगा। तो जो भगवान की उपदेश है ना, एक जो नाम भूल गया मैं उपदेश का, उसमें 5 का वो बताए गए तरीके टू गेट आउट ऑफ अ ग्रज अगेंस्ट अ पर्सन। सो 5 बहुत पावरफुल है ना, वेरी beautiful ways of dealing with people. That if you have a grudge against a person, what should you do? First is, I mean, obviously, if you are the excellently established in Dhamma, then you should have compassion towards him. Okay, if that is not possible, have at least loving kindness towards him. If that is also not possible, then ignore him. If that is also not possible, then think of anything good he has done for you. That is not possible, then remember that everybody is a heir to his karma. Leave it to his karma to feel whatever happens. Everybody is heir to his karma. उसने गलत किया, अगर मुझे लग रहा ग्रज है कि उसने मुझे मेरे से गलत किया है, तो ठीक है, वो अपने कर्मों का फल भोगेगा, मैं अपने आप को क्यों परेशान कर रहा हूँ। So these are the kind of practical tips, is in sequence depending on the level of maturity of a person, where he can overcome the grudge. So this way we can apply that whenever the person is harming us और हमको ग्रज हो रही है, अब उसको ग्रज है तो उसको एडवाइस किया जा सकता है कि भाई इस सेंस में तू देख ले। अगर वो कहता है नहीं तुमने गलत किया तो मैं कह सकता हूँ अच्छा मैंने, अगर आपको लगता है, अगर मैंने माया मुझे तो लगता नहीं किया, और अगर सचमुच में गलत किया होगा तो मुझे अपने कर्मों का फल मिल जाएगा भाई, क्यों परेशान हो जाए। मे बी दैट कैन हेल्प। नाउ इट डिपेंड्स ऑन आवर एबिलिटी टू हैंडल दिस सिचुएशन।
बट जैसे आपने बोला कि हमें अपनी परसेप्शन ठीक करनी है, तो एक तरीका तो सिंपल है कि अपनी विल पावर को यूज़ करेंगे, बट
विल पावर तो सप्रेशन हो जाएगा,
विल पावर सेपरेशन हो जाएगा.
परसेप्शन चेंज करने का मतलब है कि we look at the world in a different manner, which is the true manner, rather than looking at the world in an apparent manner. Appearance और reality की बात है. Appearance ऐसा है, ये प्रिय है, ये अप्रिय है. Appearance ऐसा है कि ये ठीक है, ये गलत है. Reality ये है कि सब कुछ अनित्य है, बदलता रहता है.
पर उसमें भी सर एक तो डेंजर यही है कि I've read Ajahn Sumedho when he says कि suppose सब कुछ अनिश्चय है. Now this is a concept and we take it so literally and we try to apply it to every situation that we make it an escape.
वो तो विजडम की लैक ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो गया ना. वो तो किसी भी चीज़ को एनीथिंग the most beautiful thing in the world can be misused.
So the question is that the way Ajahn Sumedho says is that the way to come out is to just see your suffering.
Yeah, but when there is an action needed, जैसे बार-बार रमन कह रहे थे ना, situation demands an action. ठीक है ना? Action तो करना पड़ेगा ना. You can't run away from action.
So अगर मैं ये बोलूँ कि I have my own conditioning and I always react with my conditioning normally. Okay, and all I need to first do is to see my conditioning and say how I react to things. And once I see my conditioning and I see how I react, then I can possibly question myself that whether I'm reacting in right way or wrong way. And if I find that I'm reacting in wrong way, then I can try to see that how I can possibly correct it.
Yeah.
So that's the way I understand.
But there is a very important subtle point in it. We are not able to see our conditioning as conditioning. We think this is the right thing. If I see that मैं जो एक्शन कर रहा हूँ ये कंडीशनिंग से गवर्नड है तो victory is there already. Because then I will not be attached to whatever happens. Then I will know अरे मेरी कंडीशनिंग ऐसे गलत थी, कोई बात नहीं. प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि हम बाद में उसको समझ रहे हैं. इस समय हम समझ रहे हैं कि ये कंडीशनिंग है, लेकिन जब एक्शन होता है उस समय हमको लगता है अरे ऐसा ही तो होना चाहिए, यही तो ठीक है. If we can step back, then that comes, अपने को अलग देख लें उससे. It's a very tough job. If you can step back and say, oh, this is a conditioning. संज्ञा ही है यार, it's not truth, it's not me. Then there is no problem whatsoever. गलत भी हो जाएगा तो क्या हो जाएगा? गलत तो ठीक तो होता ही रहता है संसार में. गलत हो गया, कह देंगे यार गलती हो गई, माफ कर दो, क्षमा मांग लेंगे. बट अगर हमने कंडीशनिंग को कंडीशनिंग नहीं देखा तो फिर वो मेरा काम हो गया ना. Then I have attached to it. Then it becomes self involved in it. Then there is big issue. तो सेल्फ टूटने की बात आ जाएगी, फिर तो आसमान टूट पड़ेगा. If you can see it as conditioning, they've already got them through. There's no issue.
Sir, how that another way of it is that जैसे हमें अंदर से this awareness is coming, not about anicca but about maybe right and wrong, as something like universally right and wrong. एक तो ये होता है कि अंदर से आती है because of karuna, और there is another way कि we getting it from the external world by reading, by hearing somebody speak, and then our mind thinks about it, and then we arrive to this right and wrong. So that's also okay, I believe.
See, the ways by which we change our perception are many. After all, when we are sitting here and discussing, this is helping us to transform our perceptions in some way or the other. Perceptions have to be transformed by reflection. We look at the world and see it in a certain manner. We realize the impermanence by looking at world and seeing it in a proper manner. Isn't it? We realize that impersonality by seeing at things in a particular manner, by being able to break through our own strong grasping of our behavior pattern. Then we see, oh, ये बदलता ही रहता है, कभी मैं ऐसे behave कर जाता हूँ, कभी ऐसे behave कर लेता हूँ. Then I begin to see, ये चीज़ आती जाती रहती है. Don't take it seriously. If you can do that, that's a great victory. If you begin to disentangle the self from all these activities, then you are transparent. ना गलती हो भी गई तो क्या हुआ? दुनिया में गलतियाँ होती रहती हैं. क्या हुआ? हो गई गलती, चलो. तो सजा देनी है, दे दो, वही सजा दे दो, चलो. no problem. But that means you are transparent, absolutely. No issues involved. Then there is nothing, then you don't carry any burden with you. Because most of the time our burden is my own self-image. That is a big burden we carry all around. No? And self-image is always कि मुझसे तो कोई गलती हो नहीं सकती, मैं तो बहुत अच्छा हूँ, मैं तो बहुत समझदार हूँ, मैं तो साधना करता हूँ, मैं ऐसा हूँ, मैं वैसा हूँ. Now that self-image gets broken every moment. And if you don't carry that strongly, the extent to which we grasp it, the extent that is due to which we suffer. If you let loose the grasp, थोड़ा grasp छोड़ने लगेंगे, yeah, it's okay. And the understanding of perception is a very, very crucial thing. Very, very crucial. Because that is it which leads to right view or wrong view. सम्मादिट्ठी जो है वो perception से बहुत entangled है एकदम. सम्मादिट्ठी actually means right perception, you can say.
लेकिन जो जैसे आपने कहा कि एक तरह से ये भी कंडीशनिंग ही है. कंडीशनिंग से आप बिल्कुल दूर तो नहीं जा सकते, वो तो क्लियर है. अब हम जो अब पढ़ रहे हैं और जो समझ रहे हैं और जो हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, इसके बेसिस पे भी हमारी कुछ परसेप्शन होगी. तो ये इवेंचुअली कैसे डिटरमाइन होगा कि ये सही है या दिस कैन बी अनदर. So why is this right and something else not right? ये
इसका जो
कौन डिसाइड करेगा और कैसे डिसाइड होगा?
बेस्ट जो मेरे ख्याल से most easily understandable thing is that very Rahul was. Whenever we do an action, if it leads to harm of others or my harm, कहीं गड़बड़ है. खत्म. Very, very beautiful criteria, no issue of any particular belief system, because we are relying on that innate kind of innate intelligence of the life force, basically. This is the innate intelligence of the life force that it does not want to be unhappy.
So I'll give you an example जहाँ पे ये criteria लगा के मैं फंस गया. Actually, child is the फादर ऑफ मैन एज दे कॉल इट. तो हमारे घर में लॉन है, बालकनी वगैरह में भी लॉन है. कहीं पर कोई वैस्प्स का कोई घर बन गया शायद, और बालकनी में बहुत सारे वैस्प आने लगे. सो आई गॉट कंसर्न्ड अबाउट इट, बिकॉज छोटा वाला बच्चा जो है वो खेलता रहता है बालकनी में, उसको कभी काट लेगा. तो वो बालकनी में खेल रहा था और 2-3 वैस्प उड़ के उसके आसपास घूमने लगे. तो वो चिल्लाया, डर गया वो. मैं अंदर रूम में बैठा था, मैं बाहर गया और मैंने उसको अंदर भेजा और मैंने उस वैस्प को मार दिया. एक को मार दिया, बाकी उड़ गए. वो वापस बाहर आया और बोला आपने क्यों मारा? उनका अगर नहीं मारता तो ये आपको काट लेता. बोला वैस्प को मारना तो गलत बात है. अब मैंने क्यों मारा? उसकी भलाई के लिए, लेकिन उसमें किसी और का बहुत बड़ा नुकसान भी हो. तो ये सही है या गलत है कहना बड़ा मुश्किल.
नहीं, क्लियर है, गलत.
तो मैं उसे काटने देता हूँ.
नहीं, उसको दुआ हटाया जा सकता था. जैसे वे आउट.
लेकिन मैं कब तक रहूंगा बालकनी में? वो फिर बालकनी में आएगा, वो फिर काटेगा.
One has to plan suitably how to take care of it and do it. So it needs much more effort. So doing a completely wholesome job needs a much more effort. No denial of that fact. That's certain. So the child is very right.